All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to connect SmarterContact, a mass texting service, and push that information from SmarterContact over into Pebble once you've qualified that lead, and then you can create a deal inside of Pebble. You basically are going to use SmarterContact to qualify that lead. You don't need it to come into your inbox into Pebble. In fact, if it is a good lead and you verify it's good, you can push it right into your deal stages, your first deal stage if you'd like, and have the contact already existing inside of there along with the property record inside of Pebble. So just so you know, this is the deal board here, and here inside of a deal card, it's a container that has contacts and the properties attached. And we're going to bring that all over at once within SmarterContact. And so this is going to be a little bit of a high-level hybrid with a little bit of detail on how to build this out, because there's so many ways you can go and do this through Zapier. So you do need Zapier in order to do this. So what you're going to do in terms of order of things, you're going to make sure you import the properties and contacts with the contacts or the owner information into Pebble first within campaigns. So you always want to go into campaigns, add campaign that you've pulled your list from before you start your mass texting. That way, when you push into Pebble, all that information about their property, property details exist inside of Pebble. And the reason why you want to push into the Pebble is because the property details there, you're going to do your due diligence in there, documents, everything that is attached to the property lives inside of Pebble. All right. So then you're going to run your mass texting campaign. Then once you've qualified that lead, you can push it into the CRM. All right. So we're going to do three things here within Zapier. And Zapier, just so you know, is sort of a bridging software. It bridges SmarterContact and Pebble together. And so what we're going to take that information inside of SmarterContact, we're going to push it into Pebble. We're going to look for the contact that exists inside of Pebble. Remember, you already brought that in. You're going to look for the property that exists inside of Pebble. Then you're going to create a deal with the contact and property attached to that deal. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. I'm also going to try to create a downloadable or importable Zap so you can bring it into your own Zapier account and you have it sort of somewhat outlined already. I've already done this, so I'm going to go back and sort of explain what I've done. So looking at my screen here right now, we're going to jump into, first of all, Zapier. All right, you're going to sign up for an account. So to do this, we're going to just go ahead and create a Zap. And I've already done this, but I'm going to just show you the beginnings of it. All right. So you're going to start with the trigger and the action. And the trigger is from SmarterContact. Okay. So you're going to look for SmarterContact and it's going to ask you to log in. So just follow the steps. The trigger event, very important. There's only one. It's the export contact trigger. Then it's going to ask you to log in. I've got an account already. I'll just log into mine and then hit. Looks like I need to log into my other account here. Cool. I've already logged in and it'll actually prompt you to log in. So you're going to give this Zap a title. Let's just call it SmarterContact 2. Let's see if this works and then continue. Now, really important is you got to pull test data because you got to take that test data and map it out inside of Pebble. All right. If you don't have any test data, Zapier won't know what to take and where to map things out. So things like the contact's own name and their address and all that kind of stuff, you got to test that trigger. Okay. And it found an example record. You see, it pulled this information, Anna Bowler, phone number. We're going to use this information inside of SmarterContact and map it out. Now, as of demoing this right now, because we only have a staging account or a test account with SmarterContact, we weren't able to get the county. In fact, they don't have it as a default. What you would have to do inside of SmarterContact is create a custom field for the county, so that when you bring it in, we categorize properties by the county. We require that information. So I'm going to assume you've gone ahead and created a custom field for the contact within SmarterContact to be able to capture the county as well, because we need to push that in order to create the property record inside of Pebble. Without a county, we cannot create a property record. But that's okay. I'm still going to show you how this is done mechanically. All right. So instead of me actually building this out, I'm going to show you what this actually looks like. Okay, because it takes a long time. In fact, it took us quite a while. And one of the things about Zapier is like you just never know what's wrong with it. Unfortunately, support with Zapier is going to be limited on both our ends and SmarterContact. including Zapier's in. The best bet is to hire somebody else to build this out for you or look for the errors if you don't understand, okay? Now, if you click into SmarterContact here, the one that I created, well, you wouldn't have this, but I'm going to share this one with you guys, similar one. I'm going to explain to you what's happening before we jump into the paths, or before we jump into the details of each step. We basically have a trigger. When we export a contact, we have a trigger, and that trigger will cause Pebble. And so the next step is to also connect Pebble. So it'll ask us to select an app to make something happen into. Mine is called Pebble Staging because I'm on my staging account. Yours would be just Pebble, REI Pebble, okay? Would not be staging. The first thing we want to do is find the contact. We're expecting it to be there, but there's a chance it's not, okay? But you should have brought that in first, right? Remember I mentioned create the campaign first so the contact already exists inside of Pebble. All right, so we're going to find the contact. Then we're just going to follow one path here. We're going to find the property. Now we've sort of got a condition. If we cannot find it, it's going to go on the right side here and create the contact. But let's just say we found the contact, then we're going to find the property. And let's just say we found the property, we're going to then just create the deal. But of course, at each one of these elements, there's going to be a time where we can't find the contact, we can't find the property. So there's conditional logic here. So we have what we call split paths. Okay, these split paths will say, okay, well, if the Zap search was found true, then we'll go path A. Okay, if on this side, the Zap search for step number 2, finding a contact, is false. Sorry. Now it says true here because in the example data, it is true. But if it is false, then it would go path B. And so to do this, you would just need to, let's go ahead and edit this Zap here. I'll click into it. You can see this is custom rules here. We need to select it only continue if step 2 search was found status Boolean is false. Don't ask me what that even means. I don't even know, but that's what it is. And I'll hit continue. But all that means is just like, okay, if it's false, we couldn't find somebody, we need to go on this path. If it's true that we found somebody, then we go this path. Can you see the conditional logic here? All right. Now, I'm just going to jump into some of this here. For this step here, finding a contact, as long as you're logged in, you are going to go to configure. And what we're configuring is we are looking for the first name from SmarterContact, space. I added a space in here, okay? These are sort of like placeholders or dynamic fields or merge fields. You can think of that in letters, right? And last name, first name, last name. That should exist inside of Pebble already. We're going to look for that. We're going to hit continue. And then we're going to look for that contact, and it happened to be true as I tested because I already have that contact. The next step here is to find the property. The same thing. We're going to take the address. Now, you're going to use APN instead. When you bring in your property records inside of Pebble, instead of SmarterContact, I don't know if they have APNs. I don't think so, but typically raw land, we don't have address. So I would say the property address should be the APN. So I'm using the APN as a way to match up to find a property, the APN inside of Pebble. So it's looking at this, and I actually created an example one where it's 899 Sullivan Street as the APN. So I'll hit continue, and then we're going to continue to test this. And it found it. And great, at this point, we're just going to create the deal. And so it's going to ask you under setup, which app, that's all normal. And by the way, the event is create a deal. So we have a lot of different events here. And I should have mentioned in each of these steps here, you see it says find a property. The event is literally find a property. So you can see the available events here. And so for me, I am creating a deal. The event is creating a deal, and then we'll go to configure. The title of it, the board ID, which board is it going to? Which deal board is it going to? Which stage is it going to on that deal board? Okay, and then finally here, I'm going to use, to find the contact ID, I'm going to use the previous contact ID, which was in step 2. So I went to step 2 here. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to show you what I mean. It's going to go back to step 2 where I found the contact, and I'm going to find that ID here. That's going to be matching for the contact ID. And then for the property ID, well, I'm going to go, and it's in step 5 that I've found the property. and I'm going to look for the ID for the property here, and there it is. I'm going to map that to that, and then I'm going to hit continue. Great. And that's done. It's going to create the property, create the deal with the existing contact and property. So what happens if there was no contact found? Great. Well, it's just going to create the contact. And so the setup would be create contact. It would be configure that contact. So it's the full name, the first last name. I was going to bring the email address over from SmarterContact, the phone number, whatever else information I want. Okay. Do not mail. No, that's going to be false. So on and so forth. I can fill this all out. Once I've created the contact, I am now looking for the property, just like I did here. And I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to find the property. If it exists, okay. Oh, that's interesting. If property exists, I guess I did a different logic here. Let me have a look here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe I named it. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's the same thing. If search status in step 14 was true, if I did find it, then I'm just going to go ahead and create the deal. If I could not find the property, remember, Zap search was found status in step 14, as you can see 14 here, was false. Boolean is false. Well, then I'm going to create the property. And that property creation is going to be based on SmarterContact's information. Now, I know for a fact that this isn't going to work because I don't have a county here. I can't just use the property state, which I do here as an example, but it's going to need to pull from a custom field that you created for that contact or inside of SmarterContact for county. So we're going to match it to that custom field, bring it in, and then we're going to create the deal. The deal is going to be based on, well, let's see here. It's going to be titled the first name, last name. It's going to be based on it's going to have the ID from step 14. So it's going to be the property that we found. So actually, this is incorrect. It should be based on the property that we created. So good. I'm glad I found a mistake here. So step 19 is the property. So we're going to look for the property ID that we just created. There it is. ID for the property we created. And the contact is going to be based off of step 13. So we're going to just go back up to the nearest contact stage. So we're going to, contact here. This is not static. Oh, that's one thing I do have to mention here. It has to be custom. And I believe this has to be custom as well. So this is already selected as custom. Okay, so the contact will be in step 13, what I created, and you can see the contact ID there. I'm gonna hit continue and publish this. All right. So you can see there's a lot of nooks and crannies you have to get right. Double check everything. Unfortunately, we don't have the support to be able to dive in and troubleshoot for Zapier. Neither will SmarterContact and neither will Zapier. This is sort of the big issue about Zapier, and they've been really honest about that. But if you can sort of show us something in terms of a screenshot, maybe we can try to help you out. But your best bet is to troubleshoot and test. So now what I'm going to do is run a test. By the way, inside of SmarterContact, what I need to do also to connect all of this, I have to come into, I believe, settings and go into API. I need to turn on the Zapier function here, and then I can rename it. Once it's turned on, now to push anything through, I just go to Messenger. I go to a contact here, okay? And then you see this export contact and then push to Pebble. That's what I named it. And that will push to Pebble. What I would do now is come into Pebble, go to my board, wherever I pushed it to, hang out on that stage and continue to just hit refresh and see if something gets created. Then I know it's working. You will also go into Zapier and then go into Zap runs here. Oops, let's just go to home first. I want to go into my histories. And then I'm going to be able to see this here. I can see, where is it? My Zap history, here it is. All right, so it halted, it said, and I think this is the right time. It halted, that's fine. I will have a look at where it halted, And it halted at these steps because it didn't go into this step, but it completed it. It created the deal. It went right to the end. So I can go back into my seller's deal board and see that I think that's the one I just pushed. Yep, that's the Ray McTester. All right, so that's how you do it. Remember, a few steps. You want to import it into Pebble first, run the campaign with SmarterContact, then you want to push it to your CRM by exporting the contact. That is the sort of technicalities of it. You can do a lot more, but I want to explain the basics of that and sort of the path. I hope that's helpful, and let us know if you have any questions.